Hey, AT from CNC at Home. I thought I'd do some more pencils. I wanted to see what was going on with the new spindle motor on the router. And the last time I did those, I really didn't like the outcome, and so I did some more experiments, and that's what this video is going to be about. So let's take a look and see how it goes. I'm going to try and show some of the software side of this, how I actually create the G-code. We're using Desk Engrave. And for the height, when we're doing pencils, we do 2.7 millimeters. The text that I'm going to do, I'm going to engrave CNC at Home using SainSmart 3018 Pro. Okay, and then we can take a look at that by clicking Create. Turns out this button here also does that, so we can use that. And this shows us kind of what it's going to look like. I know it's a little small, but it works well. We'll also want to check our parameters. So we'll go to the parameters, and our depth is 0.2 millimeters. Rapid height is 1 millimeter, which is kind of close, but for doing a pencil it certainly is fine. Feed rate, I'm going to slow this down just a little bit. I'm going to take it down to 300, and the rest of this is good. So we'll click OK. The next step then is to output our G-code, which is simple as clicking File and Save as G-code. So we'll call this CNC at Home SainSmart 3018 Pro. I like giving the name exactly what the text is. We'll save that. Here's the G-code that was generated for carving our pencil. One thing that it does not have is it does not have the code to start the spindle. So I'll need to add that in here, which is fine because we have the updated code that we need to use. So I'll just paste that in here. So we'll start with a spindle speed of 400, which on my setup is essentially 40%. We'll do a pause with the G4, then we'll ramp up to 600, then 800, and finally 1000, which is full speed, or 100%, the way that I have this configured. So we've got that on there. The other thing that this doesn't have, if we go down to the bottom of the code here, is there's no ending code. So it pulls the Z up 1 and then just keeps spinning. So what we'll do is we'll add an M5 to stop the spindle, and just to tidy things up we'll add an M30, which indicates that that's the end of the file. Go ahead and press Ctrl S to save this, and it's all ready to go. Before we get started, we need to zero our machine. So I've already connected to the machine. So I'll come over here and click on the $H, which sends the homing command, and then the machine will use its limit switches to determine where home is. Now the machine is homed, we'll want to reset our zeros. So we'll click here where it says reset zeros. Now everything, as we can see, down here, everything is set to 0, so we're in our lower left hand corner. Now that's not where we want to be for the pencil stuff, so we'll need to move this over and get that adjusted. So what I'll do is I will key in some commands here to move it, and we'll get it into an approximate location, and then we'll fine tune it. So we'll do a G0, we'll go X of, I should write these down sometime. We'll go to about X of 100 and Y of 100. That'll get us close. I did want to make sure that we missed our clamps, so that's why I went at a 45, because I knew we would miss that. Now what I'll do is I'll just use the arrow keys and just jog this up a little bit until we're approximately where we need to be, and we'll go back in the X direction. That's about right. Let's just bring this down. Okay. So it's going to be right about in there somewhere. Just for the sake of argument, I know I'm a little high, but I'm going to go ahead and set this as my new 0. So I click Reset 0. So now that that's set, let's move the Z gantry up out of the way. And we'll put a pencil in place. And then we'll actually zero this to the pencil. Alright, so for the pencil, just slide it in place here. Okay, make sure that it's flat and make sure it's pulled up against the fixture. And tighten it down, not too tight, but tighten up. And the same with the far end. We hold it down and pull it towards the edge and clamp it down. Alright, so we're in place. So let's bring the gantry back down to 0 and see how well we did. Hopefully we're just right above the pencil, kind of close to where we need to be. Hey, not bad. Let's zoom in here so we can see what we're doing. Okay, I'd like to zoom in a little tighter. It's just the camera can't focus from this distance quite so tight. Alright, so we can see from the shadow that we are still sitting above the pencil. I could use my 0 probe. Show that real quick. I could put the 0 probe on here and use that. I've just found with the pencils I don't get a real accurate 0 from using the probe. So what we'll do is get the magnifying glass, and then we will adjust our Z motion, and we'll set the change to 0.1 millimeters so that we're not moving very far. Let me grab the magnifying glass. So it's kind of hard to see with the camera. And this thing's dirty, filthy. Let's see if we can clean it. Okay, so I'll have this off to the side so I can see it because it doesn't come through the camera real well. But what we're going to do is, here, we'll lower this little bits. This is just a little bit at a time. You can hardly see it moving. See if we can get some of these lights off, might help, or not. There we go. That looks pretty good. So what we do is we just keep going. Now the camera's having trouble focusing. Anyway, what we do is we just keep going down until this touches right about there. So we had a gap, and then we don't have a gap. So that's how we get that zeroed. So in the software, then we will set our Z axis. We'll reset that and say that now we're at 0. Okay, I'm just going to move that up out of the way just a little bit. And then we'll do the same thing for setting our Y. We'll just step this over. Oop, too far. Okay, let's get that set to 0.1. There we go. There. looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll call that Y0. And where we are should be good for X0, so that's already set. So what I want to do is I want to move this to 2.7 from where I am, so I'm going to kind of do the lazy way. And that should put us to the, there we go, that should put us to the far end of the pencil. Alright, that looks good. Okay, now typically I want to be a little bit higher from my Z0 just for any of the dangling letters like G's and such. So it looks like we have the machine zeroed in fairly well. The next step will be to run the code. Alright, we need to load our code in first before we can actually start going. So we'll say show all files, and let's see if we can find our, here we go, CNC at home. You're not seeing this on the screen capture, shoot. Anyway, we're just opening that file, and then if we hit visualize, that brings up a visualization. Let's see if we can switch over to that so you can see when that comes up. So here in the visualization, we can see this yellow bar that represents our spindle, and that'll move along as we're actually cutting. The white is what we're going to cut. This light blue color is the rapid motion, so that's where the head lifts up and moves quickly and then comes back down. As the code is sent, where it's white will kind of turn to a gray so we can see what code's been sent. The yellow spindle will keep up with the actual spindle showing what we're cutting. So it's kind of neat to have that go. Let's go ahead and send it. At the end of the job, it always shows us that it's complete, and it gives us the time. This took 3 minutes and 4 seconds, so I'll go ahead and click OK. In the universal sender code, then we see all the code that was sent. Here's our M5, and then it's skipping our M30. Did I use the wrong code? Well, we'll find out. I'll have to go look that up. So what we can do now is we can move the pencil out of the way. See if we can get a close look at this. Now I know we can get a close look at it. We'll just do it a different way. How about that? Okay, so we'll just clean this up a little bit, and we'll see what we can do with crayon to get that filled in. Now that I've put some wax in here, it doesn't look so good. And the reason for that, turns out the V-bit that I was using actually had a broken tip on it. I thought it was a brand new one, and it turns out that it was a broken tipped one, maybe from when I first got those. So what I did was I did some more
carving. Let's see if I can find the one that I did here. So I put in a brand new one that actually was sharp. And look at that. That's so much better, don't you think? Look at that. You can see the letters. I did a second one where I raised it up just a little bit more. Looks about the same. So this one or that one. Yeah, that's definitely better. So having a nice sharp tipped tool is the difference.
Oops.
Hi, I'm AT from CNC at Home. If you like our content, help support our channel by clicking on subscribe and liking our videos. Thank you for watching this video. Have fun with your CNC at Home projects.